you want awesome wings like these? If so, keep watching and I'll show you how to make them. First, you're gonna need some wire. This is some gardening wire I found. Then you're gonna need some pliers to bend and cut the wire. If you're weak and feeble like me, you can use aviation snips to cut the wire. It's easier. And you're gonna need a ruler for measurements. Here I'm measuring out the first shoulder pad I'd like to create. I measured it out to about 5 inches long. Here I'm measuring out my wire. I want it to be 5 inches long, like I just measured on my shoulder. And then I'm going to bend it and measure it out another 5 inches and then bend it again. And then I should have a triangle. Once my triangle shape is established, I will cut the said triangle out of the wire. Listen, I tried my darn hardest to bend that damn wire around itself, but it was too damn thick. I had to resort to something else. Beading wire to the rescue! I cut out some of that beading wire. It was so soft, it was so malleable, I had no issues wrapping it around my gardening wire at all. I performed a little durability test just to make sure. Look at me, so happy with my 2 little triangles. Next, you're gonna need some foam board. This is the foam board I will be using today. You will also need a cutting mat. I place my cutting mat onto my counter, then my foam board onto my cutting mat, and then one of my triangles onto the foam board. I traced out a pretty general outline around my triangle, and then I used an X-Acto blade to cut the line I just made. I popped it out and I just made sure that it was bigger than the perimeter of the wire I made. And I wanted to give it some bend, so I added some vertical score marks along the inside of the foam board. It's hot glue gun time! I just kept hot gluing in spots until I felt like the wire was secure to the foam board. I copied the same concept to the other side, and this is what they both ended up looking like when I was all done. I got this cool pampas looking black feathery thing from Michaels, and I cut out what I would like to call the sub branches of that thing. I decided I was gonna make some more feathers out of my foam board, but these were gonna be more like punk rock spiky looking feathers, and they were gonna stick out from under my black pampa feathers. So I lined up my ruler and I started making marks about the width of the ruler, which I'm assuming is like 1 inch, and then the length of the ruler, which is 12 inches. And I kept moving all the way up the board until I decided that that was enough for the amount of feathers I wanted to make. Since I wanted to make really elongated triangles, I staggered the lines in a way that 2 lines on one side were meeting at one point on the other side. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it came out. And then I continued with that method all the way up the board until I made as many spikes as I could. I measured the spikes against my pampas again, and I felt like I could do more, different lengths, so I decided I would make some more. I just continued making the markings right above the ones I already made, and I just made these spikes a tad bit shorter. And I followed the same method as before, where I staggered the lines to make the spikes. Then I used an X-Acto knife and a ruler to cut out all of my individual feathers. The ruler only helped me make straight lines because I was shaky, I guess. And my husband also helped me put some pressure onto the foam board because it was moving a lot. So many feathers. This is a flower vase, and I'm using it to give my feathers a little curl until they look a little something like this. I I started gluing on the long feathers facing downwards and glued the shorter feathers curled upwards. And then I glued my black flowers on. And that was it. After that, I was all done. So proud of my wings. I think they came out awesome. Let me know what you think. And if you want to see how I created other parts of this look, just look at the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye bye.